Hi everyone, and welcome to the materials section of how to paint a watercolor gladiola. This is our lovely finished gladiola painting, and I'm going to show you everything I used to create this painting so you can follow along. So the first thing you'll need is some tracing paper, and you can trace the drawing that I have provided or draw your own right onto the paper, or you could trace a photo you have or the reference photo I provide, either way. But whatever you do end up doing, you'll want to transfer from tracing paper to your watercolor paper so this paper is not damaged or erased on, and then it's a nice faint drawing, not heavy hard pencil lines on this. So just any old tracing paper works. This is a Hilroy brand. The paper I use is Arches cold pressed watercolor paper, 140 pound. And this is a 9x12 pad, and I just tear one of the sheets out and use that for the painting. It has a little bit of texture on it. To get the exact same results, I would suggest trying to use the Arches brand. It's really good quality 100% cotton paper, and you'll get closer results to what I show you in the video if you use the same paper. You'll also need some paper towel and a putty eraser, a mechanical pencil, and then a regular pencil. This one I use for drawing, this one for scribbling on the back of the tracing paper to transfer the drawing. And then the putty eraser is a good way to erase little fine details and lift up excess graphite off the watercolor paper as you go along in your painting. You'll need a container for water. I like to have two, so I use two of these just jam jars for water. And then you'll need some watercolor brushes. And these are the most common brushes that I usually use. This is a 000. I don't actually use this one. So if you have a 000, great, but you don't need it. And then this is just an older round brush I use for mixing my colors so that I don't wear out my good brushes. So I have a number 4, a number 2, a 00, and then a 0 spotting brush. These are pointed round brushes, and this is a spotting brush. Difference is this one just has a little more of a blunt end. It's still fine, but can blend really nicely. So I use this for blending in step 3 of my painting process. This is a tiny fine brush I use for lots of fine detail in small areas. You'll use this one a lot in the painting. And these are Raphael Kolinsky sable brushes. This is the number 2 brush, which I also use a lot, and I would use the number 4 a little bit just in the larger areas for the leaves. And then lastly, you'll need some watercolor paint. And this is my Munyo palette. There's 48 colors in my palette. I have a little color chart that I've made. You don't have to have a palette like this. You can use tube paint or pans, whatever you have available. This was pan, well these are pans, but I've refilled a lot of them with my artist quality tube paint. So I've used tubes and put them into pans. That's just the way I like to work. And I like this because it's compact with a lot of color availability. I mix my colors on the lid here. You could also just use a white dinner plate and squirt the tubes of paint onto the edge and use the plate for mixing. That's fine too. Whatever works for you. And I will put a list of the colors exactly that I used in the materials guide, and I also go over them in the color mixing section of this class. You don't need this many colors, so use whatever you have on hand that's closest to what I use, and most importantly, just give it your best shot.